Okay, so let's get into this. We're doing a deep dive today into the technical sides, really, and the thinking behind these massive video setups. Specifically, we're looking at the WolfPack AV over IP matrix switchers.
Mhm.
These are systems built for, really big commercial deployments. Think casinos, maybe large university settings.
Right, and the core idea here seems to be making scalability, well, less complex. We're talking about a system that claims it can manage up to 70 TVs.
70, yeah, that's a lot of screens.
It is, and all controlled from one central point using a really simple method. The entire control interface is basically just an app on a standard tablet.
Wow, okay. Just a regular consumer tablet.
Exactly, which is, a pretty significant shift in how these systems are usually architected.
Okay, so let's dig into the specs that make that scale possible. It's centered on these WolfPack PoE HDMI over IP matrix switchers, you said. We know 70 TVs is the max, but what about distance? How far can the signal reach?
They're saying 450 feet using standard CT6 cable. That's pretty substantial reach for most large venues.
450 feet. And you mentioned PoE, power over Ethernet.
Yeah, and that's key. PoE is really important for the installation side of things. It means you only need to run one cable to each display that single CD6 handles both the video signal and the power.
Ah, okay. So for like 70 screens, that dramatically cuts down on the wiring nightmare, right? And the labor costs, I assume.
Absolutely. Compared to older setups needing separate power runs everywhere, it's a huge saving in complexity and cost.
And they're doing this distance, this scale, without killing the video quality. What are we looking at there?
It supports 1080p video running over a standard 1 gig network switch.
1080p over 1 gig. Okay. But pushing potentially 70 streams simultaneously, even compressed, how's the performance? Like switching speed, latency?
Good question. They spec the switching speed and latency at around 80 milliseconds.
80 mil? Is that fast enough?
For the environments this is aimed at, think digital signage, sports bars, information displays. Yeah, 80 milliseconds is effectively instant. You wouldn't perceive a delay. And they manage the bandwidth using, standard compression protocols like H.264 or H.265.
Right, to squeeze that 1080p into the 1 gig limit.
Exactly. And of course, it's HECP compliant for content protection. Can't forget that.
Sure. Okay, so the hardware sounds solid. It's rack-mountable, scalable inputs and outputs, separate audio outs, which is, often necessary.
For zoning audio differently from the video.
Right. But managing 70 screens, that control aspect still seems daunting. How did they solve that without needing some big, custom, expensive control desk?
Well, that's really the aha moment for this system, I think. They ditched the idea of proprietary hardware controllers entirely. Instead, it's all run through a standard tablet app. They call it the WolfPad system.
WolfPad, okay.
Runs on WiFi, any standard iPad or Android tablet. And the key feature within that app is something they call wireless real-time video preview.
Wireless real-time video preview. Okay, sounds fancy. But what does that actually do for the person operating it day to day?
It's basically an error-proofing system built right in. Instead of guessing or trying to remember that source 3 is the main game feed.
Right, or reading tiny labels.
Exactly. You actually see a little live video thumbnail of what's playing on every single source right there on your tablet screen.
Oh, I see. So you visually confirm before you switch.
Precisely. It allows for that any input to any output switching instantly and crucially accurately. Think about a busy sports bar during a big game. You can't afford to switch the wrong feed to the main screen.
Yeah, definitely not. And you mentioned deep integration. Does that mean a tablet does more than just switch the display source?
It does. You can actually control the source devices themselves. So from that same tablet, you can change the channel on your DirecTV box or your DISH receiver or navigate a Roku.
Seriously, so you pick a channel on the tablet and tell it which of the 70 TVs to send it to.
Yep. Send channels to one TV or groups or all 70 simultaneously. Plus, it handles the basics like turning all the TVs on and off, showing a floor plan view.
And audio control too, presumably.
Audio controls in there as well. It consolidates everything.
Okay, that level of control is impressive. What about more complex things like video walls?
They seem to have simplified that quite a bit too, with what they call drag and drop video walls, setting up those tiled displays, where multiple screens act as one giant screen. That used to be quite involved.
Specialized software, calibration.
Right. Now, apparently, you just drag a box over the representation of the screens you want in the wall on the tablet app. Define any size, any number of walls. It even handles image rotation options, 90, 180, 270-degree flips if you need that for creative setups.
Drag and drop video walls. Okay, that sounds genuinely easy. So Let's talk money for a second. The hardware itself, you see price points ranging from what, like a starter kit at $150 up to a big 34 input, 70 output system around $17,400.
Yeah, that seems to be the range for the core Matrix hardware itself. It scales quite a bit, depending on the inputs and outputs you actually need.
But beyond that initial purchase, what does this kind of tablet-controlled PoE architecture do for the total cost of ownership over time?
That's where the big advantage lies, especially for these large commercial projects. The TCO is potentially much lower. We already mentioned the PoE cutting down install costs. That's factor one.
Right.
Factor two, and this is often huge for budgets, is there's no monthly license fee.
Ah, okay. That's significant.
It really is. A lot of competing systems, especially for large-scale matrix control, they hit you with recurring annual license fees, sometimes per screen, sometimes for the control software. It adds up fast.
So avoiding that ongoing cost makes a big difference to the long-term budget.
Absolutely. It fundamentally changes the economics of running dozens of displays over, say, a 3 or 5 year period. Makes the whole thing much more predictable and affordable.
Okay, so that really seems to be the main takeaway here. You've got this combination of massive scale, 70 TVs, that 450-foot reach, but paired with this incredibly simplified, user-friendly control system.
The real-time preview, the drag-and-drop walls, all managed from a regular tablet.
Yeah, it really brings sophisticated capabilities down to a much more accessible level.
It does.
Yeah.
And connecting this to the bigger picture, this convergence, it makes you wonder, is the future of high-end AV becoming more about the software experience, the user interface, rather than just raw hardware specs or needing deep AV expertise on site?
Interesting point.
This level of ease of use, combined with getting rid of those recurring fees,
Yeah.
it potentially changes who can effectively manage these complex systems day to day.
So here's something for you, the listener, to think about. As these systems get this intuitive, could we see like a restaurant manager or general university staff handling daily video routing tasks, maybe reducing the need for a dedicated AV tech for everything? Where does that line shift?